Alright, this is the third and hopefully final part of this. It's a pretty long document. Case study number 3, How the Grinch Stole Patty. It's somewhat unfortunate that people of particular education are cursed to look at such movies as How the Grinch Stole Christmas and think not how the feelings of goodwill and holiday cheer are prevalent, but how well, with $120 million at his disposal, did director Ron Howard succeed in creating a fur-covered quasi-humanoid. In Grinch we have it all. A human who is to be dressed as non-human, a particular character most notable for his excessive hair, and who has a body shaped with proportion-altering prosthetics that have to be designed to allow movement with no hint as to the man underneath, figure 10. And let us not forget, infinite money to throw at the problem. So does Grinch succeed? One of the most, if not the most, troublesome areas for would-be monster makers is the neck. The combination of twisting and retracting muscles can make wrinkles glaringly apparent in almost any costume. As we have seen, furry monsters in the past have avoided the problem by adding excessive hair, thereby obscuring the neck, or by deliberately altering the character to give them some clothes to cover the area, a la George Lucas and his Ewoks. The Grinch, being covered with green skin and hair, has the problem staring him right in the face, and they solved it by not putting any fake skin on the neck at all, just straight green paint. Fake hair is above on the chin, and fake hair is below on the collar, but Jim Carrey's neckline is free of any troublesome prosthetic at all. They just avoided the problem by ending the costume at Jim Carrey's collarbone and investing in a heavy tub of green body paint. A simple solution for a problem they really did not need to take on in the first place. After all, the Grinch may be green and he may be fat, but he definitely does have a neck. There is no need to pretend that he does not, which puts him, so to speak, head and shoulders above Patty. Patterson's achievement just got a whole lot tougher. With 9 digits of Hollywood money to throw at his makeup department to deliver a realistic Grinch, Ron Howard took the easiest way out with a neckline, risking uneven costume effects and complicating the fluidity of the suit. Patty, as we recall, not only has no neck, but no way to obscure that she has no neck. The hair is short and the head is in frame. We have an unobstructed view of the entire backside, and there are no visible seams, no visible wrinkles, and nothing whatsoever that could hide it. They simply are not there. And now, 33 years later, Hollywood has a shot to best that effort and took a pass. Or had a shot to best that effort. The rest of Grinch follows standard costume rules. Excessive hair around the seams, in his case, the shoulders and waistline, and unusually long hair on the extremities to give the illusion that they are longer and malformed. Grinch's finger hair is almost as long again as his fingers. This benefits Jim Carrey with a built-in optical illusion. You do not really know how long or what shape his fingers are at all unless he grabs something. The Grinch's head is topped with a mop of shaggy hair, providing the same how big is it illusion and doubts about skull shape. He is made fat around the midsection by foam padding. Easy enough to do, but you'll notice that such padding to distort size is never done on body areas fixed for size, such as the distance between shoulders or legs. Padding can make the legs themselves bigger, but not the distance between them. Conclusion. No discussion about Hollywood versus Patterson can be taken seriously without bringing up the best of the best. The greatest monster maker of our age, Stan Winston, has kept any thoughts or comments about Sasquatch to himself. That's not quite true. He did make a comment on Sasquatch Odyssey. His greatest potential opportunity to duplicate the PG film arose in 1995 with the guerrilla adventure Congo, where Winston had to churn out dozens of fursuits for gray ape actors, figure 11. From a suspension of disbelief standpoint, we have primate-looking, long-armed, hairy creatures with complete articulation in the facial areas, muscles. They run on all fours and look generally apish. From a PG film viewpoint, however, these apes have human shoulders, no bones about it, thin and narrow. Their lengthened arms are achieved by stilts attached to their forearms, producing odd-looking proportions. Facial muscle technology was certainly unheard of in the late 60s. The facial hair is, of course, longer than the body hair, especially around the neckline, as we could have anticipated. Between these apes and Baker's apes, The pattern for Hollywood duplication is predictable, expected, and never varied from. Winston can escape claims of false about his apes because Congo featured a fictional species. Baker has no such excuse, and it is clear from the budgets involved that this is the best that can be done. And even setting aside the PG film subject's unachievable proportions, their best costume technology just isn't good enough. That's Hollywood. Look at the real thing now. Patty has no discrepancy between the dimensions of her hands and forearms, the fur being equal in length, color, and thickness across the entire wrist and cuff area. This is atypical. Either the suit was made with the hands pre-attached to the sleeve, a doubling of degree of difficulty with zero gain, or hair was actually glued directly to the arm itself, and the shoulders, and the back, and so on. Application time about 10 to 12 hours, longer if it was attempted on location at Bluff Creek. By comparison, the 2000 movie X-Men featured a supervillainess dressed from head to toe in blue body paint and over 200 prosthetic attachments. It took about 12 hours a day to complete, and that was with modern technology and the ideal conditions of a movie studio. However, this approach begs the question of the actor's dimensions. Even if our would-be hoaxers were diehards and did in fact glue hair directly to their actor, there has been no explanation offered for the excessive width of the PG film subject. Foam padding could easily adjust his depth, provided he was in a costume, but could never change the width of the shoulders. Even 7-foot-tall Andre the Giant doesn't pass the width test, nor has any other hairy man on our list. And the hair! The PG film subject has 2 to 3 inch hair over the whole surface area, no exceptions. This gives an unobstructed view of all his neck and shoulder muscles, a view that previous Hollywood attempts have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to obscure. Thinking back to the beards on Planet of the Apes and the neo-hippie Sasquatches preferred by the $6 Million Man. Showing a complete unobstructed view of the neck and shoulder muscles is simply unheard of, and indeed an absolute no-no. Hollywood just does not do things this way, and yet somehow Patterson pulled it off, with no hint at all of fake skin with 60s technology. For a hoaxer to even attempt it would be unprecedented, for until the PG film, there was zero reason whatsoever to even bother. No layman, let alone Patterson himself, a rodeo man, could possibly have been schooled in anatomy enough to recognize the value of 3 foot shoulders, whereas regular human length would have fooled nearly everybody at far less trouble and expense. No one would have bothered with hair on the hands until Patterson showed up either. Whoever faked this should have made a fortune passing the procedure along to the industry, but now 40 years after the fact it is as big a secret as ever. Our would-be Oscar winner remains a complete unknown, all for, allegedly, the perpetuation of a practical joke. Had the PG film been faked with standard methods, no one would have known any better, as that would have been the accepted way. And yet, if hoaxed, the PG film was not done the accepted way. Every telltale costume giveaway is simply not there. Not only has Hollywood never duplicated the PG film, it has never even tried. Looking back on our whirlwind tour of 1970s Hollywood, we can now ask what is left of any alleged Hollywood involvement in PG. There's one showbiz nugget of wisdom that's particularly relevant. You're only as good as your last performance. With ape suit technology, Hollywood has put on a very poor performance indeed. It's a white-knuckle, merciless business where one can give nothing less than their best performance each and every day, lest risk being replaced without compassion or appeal. When it came to PG, we've seen Hollywood's best, and it falls very short indeed. With millions of dollars at their command, Hollywood is still bested, and genuine still remains in a forested creek bed hundreds of miles away from movie magic. Figure 12. And here are the photos. Okay, here's Andre the Giant with Lee Majors. Figure 1. Andre the Giant in his Bigfoot costume for the 2-part episode Secret of Bigfoot of the $6 Million Man, aired February 1st, 1976. Notice how the hair on the head bears no relation in texture or length to the rest of the body, and despite his towering height, his width is far too skinny in comparison to Patterson Gimlin. Figure 2. Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca. Seams are in obvious place, given away by excessive hair in all the right places, in this case the hips and the back. Figure 3. The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951. Not visible in this shot is a huge seam running up the back. Never seen in the finished film. Even when shot from the back, due to the additional suit that had a seam up the front, the two suits being swapped from shot to shot. Figure 4. Actress Kim Hunter in Planet of the Apes, 1968, as a chimpanzee. Makeup artist John Chambers won an honorary Oscar for his work in this movie, a distinction which immediately made him a candidate for the creator of the Patterson Gimlin film, which occurred a bare 3 months before this movie was released, which he consistently denied. Since production on Planet lasted the entire summer of 1967, involving dozens of ape costumes, it is highly unlikely that Chambers would have had any spare time whatsoever to make a Sasquatch suit, especially for free. Kevin Peter Hall, Figure 5, in Harry and the Hendersons, 1987. By this point, Hollywood had established standard rules for Sasquatch duplication, with Harry's beard and other facial hair being conspicuously long to conceal seams and wrinkles in the neck. Shoulder pads are obviously visible on either side of the head under the fur. Kevin reprised the role for the TV series of the same name in 1990. Figure 6. Stunt actor with extendo arms to duplicate both the proportions and movement of large primates. The device was used in Planet of the Apes remake in 2001, directed by Tim Burton. Figure 7. The Mugatu from Star Trek's Private Little War originally aired February 2nd, 1968, barely 3 months after the Patterson Gimlin film and coincidentally the same week as Planet of the Apes. Huge muscles give way to skinny wrists and ankles. Other angles show gaping gaps in the fur between the arm and torso, and wrinkles are visible throughout. Figure 8. A leaner Ted Cassidy, best known for his role as Lurch, replaced Andre the Giant as Bigfoot in sequels to The $6 Million Man. Figure 9. Warwick Davis as an Ewok in Return of the Jedi, 1983. Several dozen costumes were constructed, all of which included the neck hood, which the production sketches clearly label as to hide seams. Figure 10. Jim Carrey in How the Grinch Stole Christmas, 2000. Suit created by King Kong actor-creator Rick Baker. The application took 3 hours every day of the shoot, after which Carrey described the costume as it was like being buried alive on a daily basis. Notice the excessive hair to cover the neck, and conical lengths of hair on his fingers, disguising their true size. Figure 11. In 1995, Stan Winston created the gray killer apes in the action-adventure Congo, loosely based on the novel of the same name by Michael Crichton. And Figure 12. Still from the Patterson Gimlin film taken at Bluff Creek, October 20th, 1967. And that's it.